Let me start by saying a few words about the most recent tariff developments. Last Friday, the US announced the new tariff rates that will take effect from 7th August. The baseline tariff for Singapore remains at 10%. But for close to 70 countries, the US will impose tariffs ranging from 15 to 40%. The US will also levy an additional 40% on goods that they have deemed to be transshipped to avoid applicable tariffs. These latest tariffs will raise the aggregate US tariff rates from about 2% at the start of the year to about 15% or higher. Even with this latest announcement on the reciprocal tariffs, there remain significant uncertainties. Negotiations with several key countries, including China and India, are still ongoing. Details on these how these tariffs will be implemented are still pending, and the US may also announce further sectoral tariffs, such as on pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, as well as aerospace in time to come. How supply chains are likely to shift as companies factor in these tariffs into their calculations is also yet to be known. There will be long-term implications on the multilateral rules-based trading order that will inevitably affect Singapore and the rest of the world. We intend to continue to engage the US administration on these matters. But at the same time, we will also step up our engagements with businesses to assess the impact of these latest developments on them. We had earlier announced a business adaptation grant that would be rolled out in October to help businesses adapt to these new tariff environment. We will also work closely with the SBF to study if we need to develop additional measures to help our companies, in particular our SMEs. We will also monitor closely the impact of these developments on our workers and work with the SNEF and NTUC to step up our support where needed. Even as we manage the immediate uncertainties, we must start planning for the longer term to position our economy, our businesses, and our workers so that they are able to adapt to the new economic landscape. We have been providing regular updates on the work of the Singapore Economic Resilience Task Force, CERT, and last month we focused on the first two work streams, namely on information sharing, and the second work stream on planning for the immediate term response to the impact of the tariffs. And we said that we will share more on the third area of work, particularly on the longer term economic strategy later. And today, I would like to announce that we will convene an economic strategy review, or in short, ESR, to chart an economic blueprint that will enable us to stay globally competitive over the longer term, and in doing so, secure good opportunities for Singapore and Singaporeans. Let me highlight 5 focus areas under this ESR. First, we must build on our fundamentals to stay relevant and competitive. Amidst a more protectionist and competitive landscape, we must strengthen our value proposition to continue to attract and anchor new investments. We must also encourage and support our companies to grow and expand into our region. This will also allow our companies to capture new opportunities amidst the reshuffling of production and supply chains. And to do both well, we must reinforce Singapore's competitive positioning as a key hub for trade and investment, and remain relevant to the global economy. Jeffrey and Yanling will lead a committee on global competitiveness to look into each of these areas. Second, we must harness new engines of growth and innovation in the future economy. We want to develop, deploy, and diffuse new technologies and innovation, including AI, across the whole of our economy. Jasmin and Han Yan will lead a committee on technology and innovation to look into this. Third, we want to deepen our ecosystem for entrepreneurs and startups. We have made good progress in positioning Singapore as a leading startup hub in Asia by building a conducive ecosystem for entrepreneurs to grow their businesses here. We want to not only attract global founders to set up new businesses in Singapore, but also to nurture our own entrepreneurs. Alvin and Dinesh will lead a committee on entrepreneurship to look into this area. Fourth, we must prepare our workers and enterprises to be ready for the shifts in the global economic landscape. We must ensure that our workers can access opportunities in the future economy, and this will require us to empower them with the relevant skills needed for the future. This will also ensure that we have a skilled workforce for Singapore to stay globally competitive. David and Bo Kun will lead a committee on human capital to look into these areas. And fifth, our enterprises will need to adapt to the shifts in our economy. Some companies, especially those in less productive sectors, may need help to restructure and transform. Jasmin and Pei Ming will lead a committee on restructuring to help companies to transform, focusing on sectors at greater risk of disruption. This committee will also support workers at risk of being disrupted so as to help them manage the transition and find new opportunity for employment. The ESR will be a tripartite partner. These committees will also engage widely with businesses, workers, and other key stakeholders to tap on their collective wisdom and ensure that our strategy is relevant and effective. Before I invite my colleagues to share on some of these 5 committees, let me say a few words in Mandarin. 上个星期五，美国宣布将于8月7日生效的新关税税率，新加坡需面对的基本税率维持在10%，但总体的局势仍存在着许多的不确定因素。中国和印度包括中国和印度在内的几个主要国家仍在与美国进行谈判。目前我们也还不清楚各国将如何对这些关税做出反应。实施关税的细节也有待确定。美国也可能在未来宣布对制药、半导体和航空航天等行业征收更多的关税。这些举措将对以规则为基础的多边贸易秩序产生长期的影响，也会对新加坡和世界其他地区产生不可避免的影响。我们会继续与美国政府保持联络，继续跟进。我们在处理眼前的不确定因素的同时，我们也必须从更长远的角度来进行规划，为我国的经济企业和员工做好更好的准备，以应付新的经济形势。今天我宣布，我们将展开经济策略检讨 （Economic Strategy Review）， 简称 ESR， 为我国制定长远的经济发展蓝图，让我国在全球能够保持竞争力，同时为我国的企业和工友争取更好的机会。让我从重点的介绍 ESR 的5个主要的方向。首先，Jeffrey 和燕玲将领导全球竞争力委员会 ，Jasmin 和汉言将领导技术和创新委员会，来探讨我们如何使用更新的技术。第三 ，Alvin 跟 Dinesh 将领导一个创业委员会。第四 ，David 和宝坤将领导一个人力资源委员会。第五，我们的企业也将需要适应我国的经济的转变，其中一些公司，尤其是生产力较低的公司，可能需要通过协助来进行重组和转型。Jasmin 和佩明将领导重组委员会，这个委员会也将协助因转型而面临失业风险的工友应付且寻找新的就业机会。通过 ESR， 我们将利用我们的优势，例如我们的长远规划能力等等，来重新规划我们的经济的未来。同样重要的是，我们必须继续拥有大胆的想法，保持灵活变通，以便在新的经济环境中为我们的企业和员工争取更好的机会。And now I would like to call upon my colleague, Jeffrey to share with us the Committee on Global Competitiveness. Jeffrey.
Thank you, DPM. Over the decades, Singapore has built an open, dynamic, and resilient economy. We have brought in investments from MNCs from all over the world. And over time, we became a global hub for aviation, shipping, and finance. This gave us access to global markets and to cutting-edge technologies and expertise. With this outward-oriented approach, we were able to create many good jobs for Singaporeans and raise our standards of living. Now, we also have a strong base of Singapore companies that have succeeded, not just regionally, but also globally. But the world is shifting. Singapore's success was built on the back of open markets, and as DPM described, open markets that are now receding and turning inwards. More countries are implementing protectionist measures such as export controls, import restrictions, and investment screening requirements. At the same time, we are facing structural shifts domestically, whether it's the advent of artificial intelligence, the low-carbon transition, or our aging workforce. Our economic strategies for the next 5 years must adapt to this new landscape. Fortunately, we start from a strong foundation. Our core economic strategies remain relevant, but we must be more decisive in pursuing new growth areas, in backing high-potential companies, and to take calculated risks. And this may mean accepting a greater degree of volatility, for example, in economic growth, or even in unemployment. But doing so offers us the best chance of taking our economy to a higher level. Committee 1 on Global Competitiveness, which I will co-chair with my good friend, Senior Minister of State Low Yen Ling, will focus on 3 key areas. First, we will strengthen Singapore's competitive advantage so that we remain a compelling destination for new investments. We will identify new growth sectors and take bigger bets in them. And let me explain how we will do so. There are already many industry leaders in Singapore in key sectors such as semiconductors, aerospace, pharmaceuticals, medical technology, and specialty chemicals, amongst many. We have leading companies such as Siemens, Agilent, Applied Materials, and Alcon. We will work with these leading companies to expand their footprint and presence here in Singapore and to work with them to do more new things in new areas. At the same time, given the global context, more MNCs in these sectors are also thinking about relocating their operations, especially high-value ones like R&D and their HQs, to Singapore or to other parts of the world. For these companies, we can and will capitalize on Singapore's reputation as a trusted and reliable investment destination, and we will compete harder to anchor them here. One particular area that we are looking at is advanced manufacturing. There is a resurgence of interest around the world because this is now an area that is clean, is smart, and productive. And the sector is creating high-quality jobs that blend digital and technical skills, which will fit the profile of our future Singapore workforce. Second, we want to support more Singapore companies to become global champions. There is, of course, uncertainty in the global environment for these companies, but there is also opportunity. Beyond key markets like the US and China, we also see growth in India, in Southeast Asia. And we want to support companies that already have significant operations in these markets, companies like Keppel, SATS, ST Engineering, and we will help them to do more. And for some of our other fast-growing companies like Nanofilm and Lucence, we want them to enter, expand in, and deepen their roots in these strategic markets, and we will support them to do so. Third, we will strengthen Singapore as a global hub by capturing new strategic flows such as data and energy. Singapore is already at the center of global flows such as for capital, for goods, as well as for talent. Now, new strategic flows are emerging, such as in high-quality data and low-carbon energy. We must move early to entrench Singapore as a hub for these new flows, and in so doing, strengthen Singapore's position as a strategic node for the global economy. And this may mean making commitments to build infrastructure and capability for these flows ahead of time. Also, we want our companies to be in the center of these flows, and this means supporting them to partner other companies to develop stronger capabilities in these new areas. All these are just some of the topics that Committee 1 will explore. We will consult widely with the with the private sector. This is why for the committee, we have a global representation of senior corporate leaders with deep domain experience and expertise to advise us on the road ahead. The Committee on Global Competitiveness aims to ensure that Singapore stays relevant and stays ahead in this fast-changing world. We will forge new responses for this very different world, building on the foundation that we already have to sustain continued growth in the economy, in good jobs, and high real wages to benefit Singaporeans. Thank you.
Thank you. The next committee is on technology and innovation. And I would like to invite Jasmin to share with us her thoughts.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Han Yen and I are very excited to lead the Technology and Innovation Committee. Han Yen helped to develop our National AI Strategy 2.0 when she was in MDDI. So she understands the work that we are about to do, and she understands it very well. I'm very blessed to have her as my co-chair. Technology has led to huge breakthroughs in economic productivity in recent years. As all of you would know, artificial intelligence, or AI, has created new possibilities that we would not have been able to think about till recently. The question is, how do we harness all of that for the good of our society and economy? So I will share some early thoughts with all of you on how our committee will work. First, we will pursue intensive efforts in a few core pillars of our economy where we believe technological innovation and AI can give us a significant push. Now, innovation is about solving real problems, about making life better. So we will focus on innovation that Singapore needs to make lives better here. Of course, we believe that these solutions and services will also be things that other countries and other economies need as well. Our National AI Strategy 2.0 had already identified some of these peaks of excellence, areas where Singapore is already strong in, and which already provide good jobs for our people. So we want our sectors like advanced manufacturing, healthcare services, and finance to be our pace setters for innovation. We have made some progress in these pillars, including by establishing AI centers of excellence in leading companies. We must now push harder for more breakthroughs to catalyze the growth that we need and give our people the best chance possible to benefit from the positive impact. Second, in addition to intensifying our efforts in certain sectors, we would also make our efforts extensive to sustain an innovation ecosystem. Now, we are not new to building innovation ecosystems. From the 1960s, where we focused on building our technical base through the setup of JTC and EDB, to the 2010s, where we invested in our startup ecosystem with the creation of Block 71 and Startup SG. So now it's 2025, and we must systematically build out our ecosystem, helping our organizations grow their capacity and their capabilities to fuel AI innovation. So our committee will study ways to encourage enterprises to drive innovation and undertake their sophisticated innovation activities in Singapore. We will also review efforts to develop our local AI talents and attract a strong pipeline of global talents which can deliver on the ambitions of our enterprises. Our committee will comprise professionals from various domains and who understand the current ecosystem as different stakeholders. We believe they will be well placed to advise us on how we can foster the innovation ecosystem that we need. Third, we will look at how to ensure that the innovation that we strive for is also inclusive. AI isn't just for tech giants. It is for every Singaporean's tomorrow. So we need to raise AI fluency and adoption among our small and medium enterprises as well. We are confident we can do this by linking up the work of our committee with the education efforts in our ITEs, our polytechnics, and our universities, where more students trained in AI are actually looking for industry projects that allow them to gain domain knowledge. We will coordinate our committee's work very closely with the other committees on human capital and managing the impact of restructuring. Through the work of our committee to make tech and AI intensive, extensive, and inclusive, we hope to keep the virtuous engine of innovation and job creation running. Maybe not just running, but accelerating. We will not let others ride the AI wave while we stand on the shore and watch. Because ultimately what we do in this committee must translate into good jobs for our people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next committee is on entrepreneurship, and I'll ask Alvin to share with us.
Thank you, DPM. Entrepreneurship and innovation are crucial for Singapore's future. It is the engine that will drive new opportunities, create high-paying jobs, high-quality jobs, and ensure our continued prosperity. It is in this context that Minister of State Dinesh Vasudas and I are pleased to co-chair Committee 3 on entrepreneurship. Singapore is and has always been a nation of entrepreneurs. This is deeply embedded in our DNA, not just in our history as a trading port, but also in our public policy. Our government has consistently invested in building a robust ecosystem for entrepreneurs and enterprises to flourish. And we see this in initiatives by Enterprise Singapore, for example, which supports our local startups, to JTC launchpads that provide physical spaces for innovation, and to our global innovation alliances. These are networks which connect our entrepreneurs to key markets from across the world. We've also created a conducive environment through startup-friendly policies and various financing and investment schemes. This consistent effort is why Singapore is globally recognized as a leading startup hub. We are home to over 5,500 startups, supported by over 220 accelerators and venture builders. But the world is not standing still. Global competition for entrepreneurial talent, funding, and innovative ideas is intensifying. We must thus move faster and do better, and ensure Singapore remains the most attractive space and place for founders with big ideas to start and to scale their businesses. That is why this review is so important, and that's why the timing is right. We will take a fresh, critical look at our entrepreneurship ecosystem to ensure it is future-proof. We will identify new opportunities, address potential gaps, and reduce the practical barriers for Singaporeans keen to pursue their entrepreneurial dreams. Our committee will focus on two main areas. First, we will enhance the competitiveness and attractiveness of our startup ecosystem. We will work with stakeholders to identify what we need, whether it is sustaining the flow of risk capital, adapting our regulations to better facilitate innovation, or enhancing our physical infrastructure to help startups to connect and grow. Second, we will grow the Singapore core for entrepreneurship. Because even as we continue to welcome top entrepreneurial talent from around the world, we must also redouble our efforts to nurture a new generation of Singapore-based entrepreneurs with the ambition, the temerity, and the resilience to start and sustain new ventures. To do this, MOS Dinesh and I have assembled a committee comprising a diverse and highly experienced group of individuals. They are founders, entrepreneurs, startup leaders, and venture capitalists who have built and scaled businesses, and they will be complemented by leaders from the finance, real estate, and professional services sectors. Their insights and expertise will be valuable to our committee. They readily agreed to join our committee when we asked them, because we all believe that the spirit of enterprise and entrepreneurship are key to our nation's future, and we are excited to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you. May I now invite David to share with us on human capital. That's the next committee.
Well, our high quality and committed workforce has always been the key competitive advantage for Singapore, and this committee wants to help every Singaporean worker continue to fulfill their full potential. And today we stand at a critical juncture in our human capital development journey. And over the next decade, we'll have to overcome key challenges to ensure we continue to have this advantage. And we face a convergence of three forces: shifts in the global economic dynamics, accelerating technological transformation, and an aging workforce. Well, these create challenges, but at the same time, unique opportunities for us. It's thus timely to refresh our human capital strategies for the next decade to ensure that Singapore remains competitive, resilient, and adaptable. And this will help our workers also thrive in the future economy and share in the fruits of our economic growth. So Po Kun and I will lead the committee to focus on maximizing the human capital potential of our workers to access good jobs and sustain real wage growth for Singaporeans. Preliminarily, we are looking at three key thrusts. First, to empower our workers with relevant skills. Well, we started the Skills Future journey about a decade ago to upskill and to reskill our workforce for the future, and we have achieved good outcomes. We've sustained more than 2% real wage growth year on year, and this is after accounting for inflation, with lower wage workers getting higher and better outcomes. And going forward, we will study ways to strengthen this link between career training as well as our career outcomes, and to continue to sustain this real wage growth. Second, we want to enable career mobility and resilience by developing a more effective career and employment service ecosystem to help Singaporeans make better career choices and to be able to seize opportunities that will arise. And third, we want to equip our workforce for future trends, to seize new opportunities and to manage risks from structural drivers affecting the economy, such as geo-economic fragmentation, artificial intelligence, and climate change. And as part of this, we'll look into strategies to prepare the Singaporean worker to seize opportunities in emerging markets and to equip them with AI skills for the workplace and to take up new jobs that will arise in our new green economy. Po Kun and I have assembled a diverse economy to help us assembled a diverse committee to help us tackle and navigate these complex, wide-ranging issues that touch on the livelihoods of every Singaporean worker. And they represent our employers and HR professionals who can articulate some of the industry skill needs and help us understand the talent requirements and challenges. Individuals in our institutes of higher learning who have good experience with the Skills Future journey and can provide insights on how to continue to prepare our graduates and reskill mid-career workers for the future economy. Members of our unions who can share the hopes and concerns of our PMETs, blue-collar workers, middle and low-income workers, and industry leaders who can share their expertise in emerging technologies like AI, as well as in the international perspectives from their regional and global careers. And beyond the economy, we also welcome ideas and suggestions and feedback from Singaporeans and stakeholders. And we look forward to helping every Singaporean worker achieve their full potential to thrive in a new economy.
Thank you. May I now call upon Jasmin to help share with us on Pei Ming to help to share on restructuring.
Very good afternoon, everyone. From the earlier committees, you have gleaned that amidst an uncertain economic environment, our focus remains on anchoring Singapore as a globally competitive business hub to ensure that Singaporeans will continue to have good jobs with sustainable real wage growth. But beyond uncertainty, we should also expect structural disruptions ahead. For example, we see AI already changing some jobs. Firms are grappling with the realignment of global supply chains, changing consumer patterns, and the green transition. Nevertheless, we are also seeing some bright spots, exciting areas of opportunity. Our upgraded connectivity through the Tuas Megaport or Changi Terminal 5 opens new options in terms of supply chain management. Our higher education base amongst our people positions us well to take advantage of AI and its many applications across industries. We also see growing demand in new energy, as well as possibilities availed through our own energy transition journey. And the list goes on. Now, Singapore has always thrived by staying ahead of change, by being proactive to change. It is imperative that we help our businesses and our workforce, our workers, seize new opportunities, new technologies, adapt to the new economic realities, and most importantly, help our workers manage the impact of these changes. Now, in this fifth committee that Desmond and myself will co-chair, we will explore ways to enhance our support for businesses, for workers, in three key areas. First, we'll strengthen our support measures for firms, including enabling them to seize new opportunities from global economic trends and mega projects. We will focus on sectors that are likely to face greater cost pressures, technological disruptions, and global competition, and therefore being in greater need for restructuring. And these sectors may include general manufacturing, retail, and logistics. Even as they face disruptions of old business models, many new opportunities will become available from Singapore's economic transformation. Now, these include the large developmental projects I just mentioned, our adoption of new technologies, as well as our own energy transition. And businesses in these sectors will need to adapt, to innovate, to seize these new opportunities, and the government will do our part and support those who are keen and have good ideas. Second, we will proactively support workers who face uncertainty as their sectors and companies are affected by economic transformation. Now, certain occupations, certain archetypes of workers may be more vulnerable to disruption, and these may include PMEs whose roles are affected by AI, or rank and file workers working in sectors that are undergoing transformation and restructuring. Now, the new economic and developmental opportunities I just mentioned also presents new, exciting employment options for our workers. And as with previous rounds of economic restructuring efforts, our approach is to protect our workers, and we will support them to seize new and better opportunities in the new future economy. So, we'll develop pathways for workers in more uncertain sectors and jobs to transition into roles with better job prospects. We call on employers, we call on workers to be more open to new learning and personal growth along this journey. Third, we will strengthen broader system-level support as well as the various forms of social assistance to give them the assurance that all Singaporeans will be taken care of as they transition to new opportunities. Now, to tackle the above challenges I've highlighted, we will bring in industry and our tripartite partners. Our committee will comprise members from various association bodies and companies that spans logistics, retail, food services, and the general manufacturing sectors. We also have with us experts in the employment facilitation space and our tripartite partners from NTUC and SNEF. Singapore is built on strong economic and social fundamentals. Through close collaboration with businesses, workers, and our tripartite partners, I am confident that we are well placed to build on these fundamentals to overcome the challenges that lie ahead and emerge stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. As you have heard my colleagues share about the five key committees under the Economic Strategy Review and the five key focal areas. And we hope to be able to provide an update of the work of the five committees sometime early next year, together with some of the key recommendations. And we hope to be able to publish the final report sometime by the middle of next year. So I think that's the rough timeline of the work of the five committees. And now I'll be happy to open the floor for questions.
Thank you, DPM and the ESR committee co-chairs. Before we start the Q&A segment, I'd just like to remind the members of the media to raise your hand and I'll call upon you. The microphone will be passed to you. Please state your name and your media outlet before asking your question. May we have the first question from local media, please? ST.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Su Fang from the Straits Times. It seems that every few years we have this kind of committees. We had the CFE and then the Emerging Stronger Task Force during COVID. So what are some of the recommendations on these areas that are still relevant and can be built upon? Thank you.
I'll say something, then I'll invite my co-chair if they have something to add on. First, I think every period, the challenges are going to be very different. And today, in fact, we are facing a significant long-term challenge, and we explained that several times, and particularly as work of our CERT task force, we point out that I think given the new regime of a tariff structure, I think we are going to face challenges in the rules-based multilateral trading system, which is quite fundamental, and it is a system that we have relied on for decades to conduct our trade and to allow our economy to develop and grow. And the landscape, the environment is changing very rapidly with the introduction of new tariffs, and there's a lot of uncertainty going forward. While, as I mentioned, well, the tariffs for the majority of the countries have been announced, there are still two key economies are still in negotiation. That's India and China. And beyond that, how these countries that are affected by the tariffs are going to respond to these tariffs, whether they're going to reorganize their production base, their supply chain, whether they are going to continue to be able to cooperate with one another. There are a lot of unknowns going forward. But at the same time, while these are challenges, there are also opportunities and possibilities. And therefore, it's important for us to take a fresh look at our strategy, first to examine whether some of the strategy we have adopted in the past will remain relevant, whether we need to tweak them, or whether we need to, in fact, have a brand new strategy to lead Singapore forward to create opportunities for us and for our workers. So I think this is something that's very important at this particular juncture for us to review our key economic strategy to determine what is the path forward for us, given the changes in the environment. Of course, I think over the years, we have built up very strong fundamentals, including our very high-quality infrastructure, our highly skilled workforce, our extensive connectivity, both in terms of physical connectivity as well as our trade agreements with our partners. All these are very important strengths that we have built up over the last few decades, and it is also important to see how we can leverage on them to continue to create new opportunities for Singapore and for Singaporeans. So I think it's important for us to take a fresh look, building on the strength that we have built over the years, and to chart the way forward. I think that's the purpose of these 5 key committees.
If I can just add to what DPM said, I think we are definitely not abandoning the old strategies that we have. We are really building on the very strong foundation and fundamentals that we have accumulated over the years. And we want to not only build on them, we of course will review the strategies that we have in light of this new world that we are facing. We also see companies that are adapting to this new world. And we have many companies in Singapore, companies that are based in Singapore from around the world, but also companies from Singapore. And we want to work with them to support them, augment what they are doing in their adaptations to the new landscape, and to see what we can do to work on new things with them. Take a few more calibrated risks, help them work on new projects so that we can discover new areas of growth and to drive new areas of prosperity.
May we have the next question? This lady in black.
Hello. Thanks for organizing this. I'm Nashra from CNA TV. I just wanted to ask that at the end of this review, what's going to happen next? Is there a timeline that you want to implement the new long-term strategies? Maybe within the next 5 to 10 years after the mid-2026 review. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's a little bit preemptive, because we have to see what the recommendations are, and some of the recommendations may be immediate, some may take time to implement. Say, for example, strategy to expand our adoption and deployment of AI may take several years. It doesn't happen immediately. And training and upgrading of our workers is an ongoing process. We may need to reorientate and reorganize ourselves to be more effective in training and upgrading. Some of these may take several years to implement progressively. It can't happen overnight. Some may be more immediate in terms of helping companies to expand overseas, to explore new markets. They may already have ready products, but they need to expand into new markets. Those may be more immediate, and we can help them to explore different potential new markets that they may want to venture into. So that depending on the recommendation of the committees, so I would not want to preempt their recommendation and to just decide how long and how soon they should implement. So it would depend on the nature of the recommendation they are going to put up. So I would urge patience from Singaporeans and from our businesses. And over time, I think over the next few months, we do intend to work with our stakeholders, both businesses as well as unions and workers, to see how we can develop this set of recommendations to take us forward. And each recommendation may have a different implementation timeline.
Thank you. The next question, gentleman in the red shirt.
Thank you. This is Kayang from Zhao Bao. I have a question related to manpower. So in the past reviews done since I think the 1990s, there has been review on how we actually incorporate foreign manpower in our country. And this time around, it seems that the terms of reference does not mention a review of foreign manpower strategy. So may we find out if it's something that is going to be looked at? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. At first, I must say that many of the manpower-related work streams has been something that we have been doing over the many years. So we're not starting this particular committee force work from a vacuum or a total clean slate. In fact, we're starting from a position of strength because we have actually already built up a good system of helping our workers to reskill and upskill. And we do have a good system and a framework of work pass systems to ensure we have a complementary foreign workforce here to augment our needs in manpower, not just in terms of quantity numbers, but actually also to make sure we have quality foreign workforce to augment in terms of complementary skills and capabilities that we can help to add to our workforce for the needs of the economy. So while we did not explicitly mention this as part of the work stream for this committee, focusing on actually the human resource of building up the capability and capacity of our local workforce, this part of the work stream will be in the background for what MOM will be doing. And we will, of course, try and see how that work stream existing in MOM can also complement what we're going to do in this particular committee. We will work with our committee members to seek their views as well. And if they have a view about how certain adjustments to the foreign workforce policies ought to help to augment our manpower capabilities and human resource capabilities over the medium and longer term, we will take that into consideration.
Thank you. Maybe we have the next question. Yeah, Chui.
Hi, I'm Chui from Channel 8, so thank you for the briefing. My question is, we knew that ESR is replacing the third work stream. So previously, the third work stream is co-led by 2 POH, but under these new 5 committees, we have 10 POH. So what are the considerations for replacing third work stream using one ESR?
Thank you very much.
Can I also have that answer in Mandarin as well? Thanks.
Okay, that's more challenging. First, let me explain that we have always had this third work stream in our CERT task force, because we know that while we tackle the immediate challenges, we always have to keep in mind the longer term challenges, and we do need to develop a work plan for the longer term. And that's why we always have this third work stream. And even as we work on the longer term plans, we also realize that it's going to be very complex given the fast evolving global landscape with the tariffs changing from month to month, sometimes from day to day. It's important for us to take a comprehensive review and not rush into a conclusion of what we should do in the longer term. And that is why we decided that we have to take a broader review of the economic strategy. And that's why we have these 5 committees being set up. These 5 committees will still be part and parcel of the CERT task force, and therefore the report and recommendations will be presented to CERT so that the committee as a whole will then review the task force as a whole will review the recommendations of these 5 committees and eventually will submit to the government for consideration at the right time. I hope that answers your question. Well, let me speak in Mandarin. 我们的这个5个委员会的设立，其实也不是偶然的，因为我们在过去，当我们这个经济韧性小组工作小组在讨论当中，我们就已经预备了这个第3个工作方向，就是为我们整个经济制定一个比较长远的计划。因为虽然目前我们需要应对关税所带来的冲击，但是我们想这个关税的转变使到整个世界经济的环境会带来巨大的巨变。那么在这个巨变的过程当中，我们必须要重新探讨我们的经济策略是不是适合，是不是需要修改。而我们在我们探讨的过程当中呢，我们发现其实我们需要进行一个比较全面性的检讨。那就是为什么我们设立了这个5个委员会，而不是由1、2个人来负责，而是由多名部长跟我们的私人企业和我们的这个工会工友们一起来制定这个比较长远的方向，比较全面的检讨。这样的话，我们考虑的基础会比较周到，所以我们就希望通过这样的一个5个委员会来对我们的整体的经济策略做一个检讨。那么这个5个委员会检讨的结果，也是包括在我们的这个韧性小组、经济韧性小组的一个部分，所以他们会呈到我们这个韧性工作小组、经济韧性工作小组，让这个工作小组来检讨、来探讨、来讨论，那么最后就会呈上到政府那里去考虑。所以这是一个整个工作的一个过程。
Thank you, DPM. May we have the next question? Any questions from the media? Yes.
Hi, this is Sigit from CNA Digital. I have a question about how Singapore can position itself as a startup hub and also attract more investments. So I think businesses have, over the years, talked about challenges such as rising business costs, such as rent, and a tight manpower market. So rental, for example, has been discussed quite prominently as a reason why some of the local businesses are unable to sustain themselves. So how prominently will these 2 issues be tackled by the relevant committees? And then my second question is, we're seeing the inclusion of several first-time political office holders. So can DPM take us through why is that the case and how the mix of new and experienced political office holders is determined? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Perhaps I can ask Yan Ning to comment on the first, or Alvin can talk about the first question, and then I'll talk about the composition of the committees.
Yes, thank you for that question. And perhaps as a new POH, perhaps a bit more pertinent for me to take that answer as well. So indeed, costs are going up. Over and above that, there are also other concerns that we are seeing downstream, including adjustments of capital flow. And all of this need to be taken holistically to determine the steps that we want to take moving forward. But this committee specifically will look at certain areas that would help entrepreneurs in the next bound. And that includes, firstly, creating a friendly infrastructural setup so that new entrepreneurs who are coming in will have the necessary support to be able to start up, scale up, and soar their business. Secondly, we do have to look at talent and how do we then develop and encourage talent, especially those who have the inkling of entrepreneurship, and how do we then nurture and grow it. Areas of growth opportunities, some of my colleagues have already mentioned that these are certain areas that I think can further rejuvenate the entrepreneurial ecosystem and space. And of course, regulations is another area that we think we have the ability to adjust in order to be able to then nurture budding entrepreneurs among us. All these taken into context and taken in totality will allow us to then rejuvenate and further scale up our entrepreneurial space that we have, where currently we have about 30 unicorns in Singapore, and it covers about almost $5 billion in terms of US $5 billion in terms of venture capital flows, and we think that is an area that could potentially increase and provides a further addition to the Singapore economy, creating good jobs for people and better career pathways as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You asked about composition, the newer political office holders. And let me explain that this is a very critical review, and it is part of the review under the third task force. And within the third task force, you also have a very experienced ministers and political office holders, and therefore this structure actually gives you the benefit of both the younger ministers, younger political office holders' perspective, new perspectives, looking at the issues from a different angle, and maybe will be able to generate new ideas and recommendations with a new, fresh angle. But at the same time, you also have the benefit of the more senior, more experienced political office holders, as well as the private sector leaders at the task force to be able to provide their input into the consideration when these recommendations are surfaced. So I think you have the benefit of the both old and new, the young and the older, more experience and the fresh political office holders' contribution towards the ideas and discussion. So I think this will benefit the work of the committee. I think that the idea is to have a balance of both the experienced ones as well as the younger ones. So I think this composition is probably most effective.
Thank you. May we have the next question, please? Last call. Oh, Chu Yi.
Hi, my question is for Mr. Alvin Tan. So you mentioned that the committee will take a fresh critical look at the entrepreneurship ecosystem to ensure that it is future-proof. Can we have more elaboration on what is the fresh critical look and why do we need that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chewy. As I mentioned earlier on, and my colleague MOS Dinesh mentioned, the entrepreneurial space is competitive. And as financing, entrepreneurial talent, entrepreneurial ideas start to evolve around the world, it is very, very important for us to do two things. One is to make sure that we capture these flows of entrepreneurial talent, entrepreneurial financing, and entrepreneurial ideas. Second is to make sure that we are able to have a receptacle for all of these. And that's why MOS Dinesh had mentioned about some of the structures that we are looking to consult with our committee on to be able to channel these flows and allow them to land in Singapore. And entrepreneurship and innovation are critical. My colleagues have already mentioned that very early on. And this is a very important juncture for us to seize this opportunity before it goes away. And so I think we'll be well placed to do that. We have the committee set up to do that, and we look forward to sharing more after the work is done. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a last call for questions from the media. Any last? Oh, yes, in the middle, gentleman in the yellow shirt.
My question is about, I think there was measures announced by Malaysia to, they got some concessions from the US for their pharmaceutical products. So I wanted to check if there's any potential for Singapore to also get similar concessions.
We are currently in discussion, as I mentioned earlier, with the US on working out a practical arrangement to allow Singapore to continue to have access to the US market, and this would involve a concessionary tariff for Singapore exports to the US. But as I mentioned earlier, I can't share the details because discussion is still ongoing, but this is something that we are part of the agenda of our discussion between Singapore and US.
Thank you. Any other questions from the media? Last call for questions. Yes, at the far right.
Hi, Susanna from Ximin Daily News here. I'd like to go back to the question about the previous third stream under the SCRT that was announced in April this year. And that committee then was, that area then was actually chaired, overseen by Desmond Lee and Minister Desmond Lee and also Minister Cheong Tat. So can I just ask, now that the third stream has been replaced by these 5 committees, will it be built on the work that has been already done by the 2 ministers, or will the 2 ministers still be, are the 2 of them, involved in the forming of these 5 committees, and will these 5 committees be, still reporting back to whatever that the 2 ministers have done? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the clarification. The 5 committees will report to CERT as a task force, and both Desmond and Minister Chi are still in the task force, and we will continue to tap on the experience of these ministers to be able to provide the input for the committee. So I think they will continue to contribute to the work of CERT work going forward. And it is also important to sort of bear in mind that the work of this 5 committee, as my colleagues mentioned, is not built in vacuum, because there were a lot of work that has been done beforehand, including industry transformation map that we developed over the years, and the Committee on Future Economy that we have worked on. And all these are not thrown out of the window, because they have helped to strengthen the foundation of our economy, our transformation roadmap, and these committees are building on the strength of these committees. So sorry, I just want to clarify, Minister Desmond Lee is no longer on CERT because he has changed his portfolio. Now he's in the Ministry of Education. So I think Minister Desmond is no longer on CERT, but Minister Cheong Tat remains on CERT because he's now Minister for National Development.
Thank you, DPM. May we have the next question from the media? Last call for questions. If not, may I invite DPM? Would you like to say some closing remarks?
Thank you. First, let me thank all the media for joining us this afternoon. As you know, we are facing a very challenging and uncertain future because with tariff being introduced by the US, and this is not just because of the impact of the tariff directly, but because it has created a lot of uncertainty in the global economic landscape. First, the impact on the rules-based global trading system is something that we have depended on our growth and development. Now the rules have been changed, and we will need to find our way forward to how we can work together, continue to grow Singapore's economy. And we talk about how we can work with like-minded countries to come together to strengthen our integration within ASEAN, and how can we develop a closer working relationship, partnership between ASEAN and different groups of economies, whether it's EU, whether it's GCC, whether it's CPTPP. I think all these different groups of economies will come together and discuss how we can work closer together to chart the way forward. But it also signals a new landscape going forward, and that's why it's important for us to take a longer-term view to undertake this overall comprehensive economic strategy review. And this review will take some time. Hopefully by early next year, we will be able to give an update together with a list of key recommendations, and we aim for the final report to be ready by middle of next year. So we look forward to working with our various key stakeholders to formulate this pathway forward for Singapore's economy.